Hey everybody, this is Jim McBride. I am Charleston City Councilman for District 3, which is Johns Island and part of James Island. And I wanted to record this episode that talks about the leachate spill that happened on North River Road on Johns Island in February. This is episode 10, November 21st, 2024. And the topic, again, Charleston Water System summary of February 26th leachate spill on River Road and potential future mitigation measures. What am I talking about? Leachate spill. What is leachate? I'll get to that in a second. That is a truck, a Drew transport truck that crashed into a stormwater runoff ditch on North River Road. When I say North River Road, I mean north of Maybank Highway on River Road, headed to pump station 90, which is a sewage pump station on Johns Island. And here's a summary of what happened. Drew Transport is a contract hauler, so it's not owned by Charleston Water System. It's contracted out from Charleston Water System. And it came from Oak Ridge Landfill up in Dorchester County, traveled on River Road. 80-year-old driver, contract driver, fell asleep and crashed into the ditch. 4,000 gallons of leachate spilled into the stormwater ditch and was cleaned by the hauler. The hauler paid for the cleaning and brought to pump station 90 on Johns Island. And the hauler reported to the South Carolina DES and EPA. So that's a brief overview. So what is leachate? For those who don't know, leachate is formed when rainwater filters through wastes placed in a landfill. This is EPA definition, Environmental Protection Agency definition. When this liquid comes in contact with buried wastes, it leaches or draws out chemicals or constituents from those wastes. So that wastewater basically from landfills collects at the bottom of the landfill, and that has to be collected because it is toxic. It's not hazardous, but it is toxic and has to be removed and properly disposed of. So Pump Station 90 on Johns Island is one of those places that it's disposed of. So after this happened in February, I asked Councilman Keith Waring, who is on Charleston City Council. He's the chair of the Public Works Committee. I asked if Charleston Water System, could come and brief the City Council on this spill and why it happened and what could be done about it. So that meeting happened on 22 April. And there's a link right there. You can go to that link, type that in, go to that video and watch that meeting on YouTube. Public Works Subcommittee meeting at the City Council where Charleston Water System came and gave an initial overview of what happened and what they're trying to do to mitigate it happening in the future. Since then, the Johns Island Council, which is a private organization on Johns Island. If you haven't heard of it, I encourage you to look into it. There on the bottom, you can see that they meet every month, and it's designed to be for the public to meet and hear guest speakers to talk about everything having to do with Johns Island, whether it's traffic and infrastructure or leachate spill or schools or whatever it is. They invite public officials and other individuals to come and brief people on everything important about Johns Island. So I encourage you to check that out. They Johns Island Council invited Charleston Water System to brief the public on what happened with the leachate spill and allow the public to ask questions. Okay. You can learn more about the Johns Island Council at that link right there, johnsislandcouncil.org. Okay, so finally, on 14 November, recently, Charleston Water System leadership was able to get their schedules lined up with the Johns Island Council, and they came out and briefed the public and the council on 14 November. So that's what spawned this brief. Is a lot of the slides information is from what they presented to the council on 14 November. Okay, so here's who did most of the briefing. Mike Saya, who's the Public Information Administrator for Charleston Water System. Jonathan Walker, Director of Environmental Resources at Plum Island, and Baker Mordecai, Chief Operating Officer. Okay, so here's an overview. Again, these are slides from CWS. So the what that pump station on Johns Island provides, what CWS provides, primarily is for about 6,000 customers on Johns Island within the urban growth boundary in Johns Island. And the urban growth boundary is essentially, if you don't know what it basically is a boundary that encompasses the urban 20% of Johns Island, um, and it kind of separated from the more rural 80% of Johns Island. So, and most of the urban within the urban growth boundary is within city limits, incorporated in city limits, and outside the urban growth boundary is generally speaking unincorporated or county. So they provide sewer to everybody within the urban growth boundary and some water to about 750 customers. The rest is contracted through St. John's Water. All right, so Pump Station 90, that is located near the corner of Murraywood Drive and River Road, north of Maybank Highway. That's a picture of it from the air. You can see kind of the scale of it. There's one of those big trucks right there. So you can see it's a pretty big building. You can see it from Murraywood Road when you turn there and see that. It also accepts hauled landfill leachate and wastewater in addition to the sewer water that comes from around the island. Most pipe travel time is in West Ashley, so it leaves through pipes when things are dumped here. It goes through pipes to West Ashley and then some of it to Plum Island, which I'll show in a minute. Okay, so PS 90, that's Pump Station 90, leachate regulatory requirements. Regulated under the CWA, must meet all Charleston Water System pre-treatment standards. I won't read all of that. You can read that for those who have chemical engineering backgrounds, understand that better than myself. But it basically have to have the leachate at a certain strength in order to accept it, and then it has to go through the pipes and be diluted in order to be usable by the Plum Island station. Okay, so why Pump Station 90? Why, in other words, why can't these leachate trucks, which are adding traffic to River Road, and that is an issue that we talked about and I'll continue to work with, is why can't it be jumped somewhere else? So number one, leachate, it ultimately goes to Plum Island. They'll show a map in a second where that is, but it can't be delivered directly to Plum Island because it's not diluted enough for the Plum Island station to handle. So Pump Station 90 is the only station in the area, in the region, that can handle leachate at that strength. And then it's diluted. Once it's dumped in there, it's diluted with the residential sewage waste and other waste, and its toxicity level goes down. It's tested along the way. It's tested when it first gets dumped. It's tested at certain points along its path through a pipe before it gets to Plum Island, and then it's tested when it gets to Plum Island to test its level of toxicity. It needs to travel a certain distance through this pipe to Plum Island in order for it to mix properly so that it gets to the proper dilution level before it gets to Plum Island. So that's one reason why it is dumped at this station, because it has to travel a certain distance to be safe when it gets to Plum Island. So there's just a map of the different locations. There is Pump Station 90. This is River Road. And this is the McGill Bees Ferry Composting Facility up in West Ashley. And I believe it goes through a pipe to that location and then travels further down to Plum Island. So before this incident happened, what mitigation had already been done by Charleston Water System. So this is good news I didn't know before all this happened, that Charleston Water System has been working to reduce the number of trucks to the station that has to go to the station. It used to be 6 clients and about 10 trucks a day. Now it's down to 4 clients. So back in up until 2019, there was 10 more trucks per day, trucks like this from Beast Ferry landfill. And then in 2023, there was one more truck per day from Pepperhill landfill. Neither of those are happening anymore. Neither of those are driving to the pump station on Johns Island. I don't know why, but it's reduced the number of clients. So what's left now is one per day from Kiowa River, one per day from Milliken, Allen, and Blacksburg, South Carolina, one per day from Synagro and Holly Hill, and the one that crashed in this situation with the leachate was from the Oak Ridge landfill, Dorchester County. There's 8 to 9 a day. So even though that's a lot, and it's on what I believe is a kind of overcapacity already on River Road, it's a lot less than it used to be, and they're still trying to find ways to reduce that number even more, which I'll talk to right now. One way they're trying to do that is they're raising the cost of being able to dump leachate at the station. So they've raised the cost 3 times in July, and the cost will continue to rise through 2027, partially in order to make it less profitable for companies to dump it at that station. They have to find some other station to dump it at. Regulatory changes and technology changes could in the future reduce the need to dump leachate at that station, both with EPA regulations that are under development, as well as future technology that could reduce the potency of leachate, allowing the trucks to go directly to Plum Island and dump it there instead of having to dump it at our station on Johns Island. Okay, so what other mitigation can be done? So the main thing that came up at the meeting that we can control in the near term potentially is the route that the truck took. Again, the new school, elementary school, Johns Island Elementary, is going to be built right here in this area. And so obviously there's school buses and parents and kids in this area on River Road, which is already a very busy road, 2 lane, no shoulders for most of it. There will be some roundabouts put in on Brownswood, corner of Brownswood and River, and in front of the school, but still in between River Road's dangerous road. So if the route that the trucks take to get to Pump Station 90 can be diverted to turning on Brownswood and then left on Murraywood and then back the same way, that can reduce those dozen or so trucks per day going to Pump Station 90 from going on that part of River Road. So that was an idea that came up in the meeting. So it was a very productive meeting. So now Charleston Water System is looking at that and seeing if they can talk to the contracted trucks to see if they can ensure or direct that they take this route or another route to get to Pump Station 90 in order to minimize the traffic on that part of River Road. So that's it. Just a quick update. More to follow on that. And I'll be looking at River Road north of Maybank is my next closest alligator to the boat, so to speak, that I'm focusing on as we get closer to the school opening in 2025. So we'll be hearing more about that soon. Please go to boatjimmcbride.com where you can see this video and other videos that I aim to make informative for the public. Please share this video if you found this helpful and you care about this issue. Please share this with other people who may not know about my YouTube channel, may not see it pop up even if they're signed on to get notifications. Share this with other people so people can be informed about what's going on. And thanks again for your support.